Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for stopping by. Today we have a lot to cover, so excuse me if I skip some formalities. The goal for this installment is to give you a better understanding of Embermane. To do this, I'm first going to discuss Embermane's patterns and weaknesses. Then I'll give you my thoughts on which weapons best suit this fight and include some ideas for an effective loadout. The main attack that Embermane will throw at you is a headlong charge. This charge will be his first attack and is repeated consistently. He will try to trick you by making turns instead of heading straight for you, so be cautious when he dashes to your flanks. The good news is that this charge is unstable, so you have plenty of opportunity to boop. In fact, this is the primary mechanic to master if you want a consistent victory over Embermane. His other attacks include fire breathing, bonfire bombs, and a 180-degree turn/tail whip. The tail whip only activates when you're in close proximity, especially if he's just completed an uninterrupted charge. Just roll in the opposite direction of his spin to avoid getting smacked. Both his fire breath and bonfire bombs will activate after he dashes away a significant distance. The fire breath is confined to a conical danger zone, so if you can get close to the Embermane's flank, then you're safe to deal easy damage. The bonfire bombs track your movements, much like a quill spike barrage, so try and move unpredictably. Also, be aware that the bombs burn on the ground for some time after impact, so don't step there. When Embermane is enraged, he maintains these attacks, but his charges begin closer, with less time between each attack, and his fire breath will last longer. Based on this hit and run attack pattern, I recommend you focus builds around either high mobility, easy boops, or both. Easily, the strongest build against Embermane is an overpower hammer build. The hammer can cause easy interrupts, either with a shotgun blast or with a double tap dodge. Once Embermane is on the ground, you're free to pound away with your 70% damage buff from Overpower. Another fun build is Chain Blades. In order to be effective against Embermane, you'll need to work in +6 weighted strikes, so that your heavy standing attack and forward dash heavy attack will interrupt very safely. Again, equip +6 Overpower for best results. I'd say Sword and Warpike builds are about the same level. The Warpike missile is great for booping, but the time to charge means you have to predict rather than react to every attack. The sword standing and dash attacks can interrupt, but the range is limited, so it takes time to learn how to boop without getting tossed by the Embermane. If you're going to solo Embermane, just don't use an axe or use repeaters. Axe can interrupt with Grim Onslaught, and you can use grenades with repeaters, but it's so inconsistent and limited that the fight is excruciating. You just have better options that will give you a better time and a better experience. In summary, the Embermane's main attack is his charge attack. This attack is unstable, so if you can boop him when he's charging, he'll go flying and you have plenty of time and an overpowered damage buff going your way. If you want to win, you have to focus on these consistent boops. Otherwise, Embermane is just going to run around and leave you straggling behind him. Now, I'm going to briefly talk through the two different builds that I've made for fighting Embermane. The first build works for hammers, swords, or warpikes, and the last one is specifically for chain blades. Finally, I'm going to show some live gameplay of me using the hammer build against Embermane. And here we have the chain blades build. The main thing that you absolutely have to have in order to use this build is +6 weighted strikes. So if you don't want to use laborious weapons, you can definitely switch it out for Pangar, that way you have weighted strikes built into your weapon, not just in 2 cells. All the armor pieces are pretty standard. It's all Hellion and then a Karabac feat. We're running +6 Overpower, which is necessary, Rage Hunter, and Molten. This isn't a perfectly optimized build. I think if you wanted to perfectly optimize a weighted strikes chain blades build, it would be useful to do a low health, Rage, and Iceborne type deal, but that would require some pieces from Shroud, and I don't have those pieces up, so I can't really speak to how well that works. But this seems to be very effective against Embermane. And here's the primary build that I recommend. You can use pretty much any hammer for these builds. I've got this set to where you can switch out the weapon for any of the Boreas sword, hammer, or warpike, and you'll have the same cells, so it should work out fine for you. But the main idea here is to have Overpower and Predator. With Embermane, like I said, the main idea is to be booping him and keeping him on the ground constantly. Overpower is going to keep that 70% damage buff active, and if Embermane's on the ground, you're not taking damage, so you'll likely have your Predator buff open. And if you use this with the hammer with Mighty Landbreaker or with Concussive Salvo, I think the differences here is Landbreaker is better for damage, but you have to rely on timing your dash attacks to interrupt his attacks, versus with salvo it's a little bit easier to see him coming and charge up a shotgun blast. But overall, if you're looking for kill time, hammer is the way to go with Mighty Landbreaker. And if you're looking for parts, then I would recommend focusing on using the sword or the chain blades. I think those are the top two for part damage. So let's just go ahead and fight a Bloodfire Embermane using this armor set. Alright, looks like we've got a super close spawn, so this might be a very nice kill time for us. So we know he's going to start off with his dash, so we can use that sideways attack to knock him down right away. And then you saw I jumped and used Landbreaker immediately. You want to have that buff active as often as possible, as always. And I'm just going to keep landing these hits as much as I can. This is the part that I talked about where he sort of dodges side to side and comes at you from weird angles. It's a little tough to get the interrupt on this phase, but it is possible. Let's see if we can land this Aether Slam. We didn't. That's okay. I recommend using mostly the uppercut combo, because that way you can land multiple Aether Slams pretty easily. Oh no. I meant to do a side dash there. The hammer is a little bit difficult to use, but once you get it down, you're gonna have some great kill times. We took our first hit there, unfortunately. There we go. It's tough to get the timing on the side dash. You have to let him get a lot closer than you feel comfortable, unfortunately. And he's run away. Now if we were able to continue staggering, if we had better timing with the dash, it would be very easy to kill him before he made an escape. Regardless though, we should still get a relatively nice kill time. I'm actually going to try dashing backwards. That also works pretty well. You don't have to time it quite so hard. It is tough because sometimes you'll just knock him away before you can land the slam, which is a problem. But you just got to keep at it. I don't know what happened there. Some sort of bug with the roll. Yeah, that's the second time I've been doing the input for the dash and it's just been doing my... There we go. Here we have the fire breath, I think. Yes. So remember to stay to the side, come in from the flank, and you can hit him. There we go. It's not too bad. The real trick is mastering the side jumps and all that, which I'm not 100% on yet, but definitely if you put a little bit of practice in, it's a very quick kill. You see we made at least 4 or 5 mistakes in that fight and we still nearly got a sub 3-minute kill on a Bloodfire. And that's not a plus 10 weapon either, it's only plus 8. So let me know if this guide helped you at all, if I left anything out, if you have any tips that you think somebody could benefit from, just leave them in the comments, and thank you for watching. I hope you learned something.